Well, good morning and welcome to Good Morning. It's a Grow Joy Day. I'm Kathy Freeman and I'm here to welcome you and share a few minutes with you, giving you some words that, things that I've been thinking about that inspire me and I hope will be inspirational to you. And then to share a little bit of an art project, something that you could put into your journal to record and to be able to remember this particular message and that I'm going to be giving to you. So, whether you are off to work, busy hurrying around, trying to do things, you're relaxing and you're sitting back and listening to me just sipping a cup of coffee, or whether you're just starting out your day totally, you're just waking up, whatever it is, let's just take a deep breath for a minute. And so take a deep breath in and let it out. Let's do that just one more time. Take a deep breath in and let it out. Every time I do that, I can just feel my whole self just kind of settle down and just really just feel peacefully inside. And I hope that's what it does for you. There's something about taking a deep breath and opening up our lungs and getting that oxygen into our body that is vital and so important. So let me just share with you. A lot of this I am already posted in my membership, the Grow Joy Journaling membership, some things to ponder, some questions to journal, and some directions about going into the Creative Reminders Library. But I have this little story since our month that what I'm focusing on here in March is on value and feeling that value inside ourselves. I wanted to share this story with you. I just think it's precious, and it's something that really opened my eyes, and I thought, I want to share this with you. And it's called The Tale of the Toaster Who Wanted to Be More Than Just a Toaster. The Tale of a Toaster Who Wanted to Be More Than Just a Toaster. Do you ever feel like sometimes I am just fill in the blank, whatever it is. And you just have these aspirations or whatever, these thoughts of like, I could be so much more than this. So let me share this with you. Once upon a time in a kitchen filled with all sorts of gadgets and appliances, there was a humble toaster. The toaster did its job every day, popping out golden, crispy toast whenever someone pressed its button. But despite its essential role, the toaster often felt undervalued. It would see the coffee maker with its delicate aroma filling the air and making people feel energized. It would watch the microwave heat leftovers with ease and quickness, receiving praise for its speed and convenience. Even the blender seemed to have some more excitement, making smoothies and milkshakes with everyone talking about how much fun it was. The toaster, on the other hand, just sat on the countertop, waiting quietly for its turn. I don't have the flair like the coffee maker or the microwave, it thought. I'm just a toaster. I can only make toast. What if I'm not important enough? One morning, the toaster overheard a conversation between the family. They were talking about breakfast options, and someone mentioned how they couldn't imagine starting the day without toast. The toaster couldn't believe its ears. Was it possible? People actually relied on it? Then one day, the toaster broke. It was a small malfunction, a minor issue that caused it to stop popping the toast out. The family was frustrated. They had grown so used to the toaster that without it, their morning felt incomplete. The coffee maker, microwave, and blender tried their best to help, but nothing could quite replace the toaster's warm, reliable service. It wasn't until the toaster was fixed with the family It wasn't until the toaster was fixed that the family truly understood how important it had been all along. It wasn't just about making toast. It was about creating that small, comfortable moment each morning that made breakfast feel like a ritual, a cozy start to the day. The toaster's simple service was valued in ways it had never really fully understood before. The toaster, too, began to recognize its worth. It didn't need to compare itself to others. Each piece of toast was its own unique contribution to the morning ritual, and in that, it had great value. Isn't that a cute little story about a toaster? This story of the toaster reflects how easy it is to feel like we are overlooking the simple but yet important roles that each of us play. Sometimes we just feel like, well, I do that all the time. It's not that important. But without it, everything would fall apart, right? It demonstrates the feeling of being undervalued and overlooked, but also the transformation moment when we come to recognize our own importance. And I think that's really important, that transformational moment, that moment of aha. It's like, wait a minute, that's really necessary, or that's really needed. And it's not about waiting for somebody else to show that or express that appreciation for it. It's about appreciating it inside ourselves first and being able to recognize, okay, this is important. And I feel very important. I feel valued and important for doing it. That shift is important for all of us. It helps us to feel a little brighter inside, a little bit more warm and toasty, you might say. So, as you listen to this story, I hope it reminds you that your everyday roles, those things that you just naturally do that seem so simple and that don't seem like they're that important, or that anybody even notices that you're doing, that you realize how important that is, and that you're able to acknowledge that and put that sense of value around it and understand it. So I'm going to go ahead now, and if you want to read the rest of this or see this, you can go over to myartsisters.com, and that opens up the little art village. And if you'll click on 2 places you can click. First off, you can rehear this particular section, this whole thing that I'm doing, the good morning, up in the little greenhouse. That's where I'm putting the replays. But if you want to read about this and see some things, then go over to my little camper, my little glamper, and you'll find it in there. I'll post that in there. And then you can read the little story and a few other comments that I have about it. So let me take a minute now. I'm going to turn the camera down and let's create something together. All right? I thought this would be a cute little image that you could watercolor. We can watercolor, and then you could frame it, put it in the kitchen, give it to a friend. Such a fun thing to do. The watercolor paper is a 6x8. I've got my watercolors here. This is just going to be a fun, relaxing little project as we work on this together. I'm going to leave the background white. I think it would be really nice, and then just frame it. You could put it in a little frame or something. Let me find my watercolor brushes. With this project, you're going to need some smaller, because we're going to kind of work with, you'll need a medium brush, a watercolor brush. And then like this size here, this one is a 4 round. And then if you've got some small ones, tiny ones, that would be perfect to use. For example, let me grab it. Just some tiny brushes. Maybe even your liner brush would be great. I'm going to start out with working on the detail of this. I've got my palette. I've already spritzed it with water. I'm going to take out my little palette here and add some water to this. That blue going. Down here, I've got my yellow. And it's a warm, it's almost a sunflower yellow. Put that there, so you can see that. Key is to get a lot of water on there first. That just takes a little bit of time. All right, let's mix this in. I'm going to use, it's really pretty, warm yellow, like I said, like a sunflower. And I'm going to just put that on first as a base. It's going to kind of act as the highlight. This is a vintage. Does anybody remember having a toaster like this at all? Keep this light, so I'm even taking a little bit off. Let's use that up in our toast. I love the old toasters. Scoot that up there so you can see what I've got going on. All right, now we're going to mix in towards our browns. Some water that I've already got to a brown that's right here. And I'm just going to touch it and let the water kind of smush it around a little bit. You know, like a toast is, it's just been toasted and it's nice and crunchy. We'll let that just dry. I'm not going to touch that. Let's go back down to our toaster. Clean out my brush. Let's make this a blue vintage toaster. And while that yellow's still drying, I'm going to go ahead and pick up the dark color of a, maybe a gray or something, black. That is a dark green. It's a beautiful color. Down here will be my blacks. Kind of a blue-gray. And that I'm going to go ahead while this is drying and very carefully, you probably want to use a smaller brush for this. Fill this in. I have some wonderful tiny brushes that my mother gifted me, teeny tiny. Do this little mechanism right here. And then the dial. And I'm going to go ahead and use that same gray on this lever. And then I'll come back in and we'll darken all of that. Put a little bit of shadow on it. Just touch the edges of that a little bit. I'm going to pull up some of that color. Let that dry. Now let's go back and add some blue. This is going to be a really simple, quick project. I'm going to mix a little turquoise and grab another blue, a darker blue. Mix those together. And now we'll just go ahead and paint our little toaster. Add some more water to that, let it move around. Just putting down our first layer, first coat, you might say, first layer. Inside that little lever. Come back and go over what we've done here. Come here. Keep adding. Make it really dark here to get the shadow of it. Every time you look at this little toaster, you can think about the little story of the toaster. And how at first it didn't feel valued, but then it realized how important it actually was, what it contributed. Oopsie. I didn't add any water to that. Yep, sometimes we just feel that we're really not making an impact, or we're not making any kind of difference. That is so not true. When you're picking your colors, think about what you would want hanging in your kitchen that would go well with what you have. Now let all that dry. Work on the little feet down here. Way too much water in this brush for what this little space needs. The line needs to go that way, and it goes that way because it's sitting on that corner. If you want to make this a mixed media, oops, sorry. Got to watch my camera there. If you want to make this a mixed media, you could use the pen and that to do down there to work on this and the dark shadows and areas. But I'm going to make this all watercolor. What I was just saying a few minutes ago is when I created this, I could tell it just looked awkward. So this side, because it's on the corner, this leg is going to hold up both sides. So this angle needs to go this way, and this side needs to go that way, parallel to these two lines. Go ahead and put a little dark right around here. Just for right now, we'll come back with the brown. And go over that. Just maybe put a little of this into, you know how toast can be a little darker in some areas, right? Kind of lift that up. There we go. That's what gives it that really nice 3D, kind of punches it off the page. Let's go ahead and add, just touch that, feel if that's dry. Grab a little of this gray, black, and I'm going to add a little bit of it here. Just to darken it up, give it some shadow. And on this side, put a little more on this side. We'll pretend like the light's hitting it more on this side, and this would make this darker. So that darkens that up. I want it to be really dark right in here, because it would be the shadow of it being on the inside. There we go. Just play with it a little bit. Keep it loose. Let's go back in here and make these darker. There, because of the light hitting off of it. Well, that's a fun little toaster. We could grab some of that because that's set back in. Can make that blue darker by putting the shadow over the black. All right, this is looking super great now. We need to finish the top of my toast, which is going to be a dark brown. So I'm going to take the brown, put it over here. And then we'll just layer it to make it dark because we want it. So we'll be adding that to the edge of the toast. There we go. And there's our little toaster with the toast popping out of it. Isn't that awesome? It looks wonderful. It looks wonderful. There's our little project. Let that dry, and then you can come back in, put a little frame around that, and put that in your kitchen. All right, thanks for joining me. I hope that you're able to create something in your journal, something that you can be a key reminder to you of value and your value, the important things that you do. As I kind of reflect back on that little story that I shared with you, it's that I think the key takeaway here is that feeling value doesn't always come from grand recognitions. We think they do, but it doesn't. It comes from those quiet, consistent acknowledgments of our own impact as we start to recognize that and realize that those little things that we do, even if it's just showing up with a smile, everybody always says, oh, that's not important, but it is so important. It's the little things that we take for granted in our lives that are the ones that hold deep value, just like the toaster. And so as we acknowledge that and we recognize that, we can actually shine that out brighter to the world. All right, I'm Kathy Freeman. Have a great day, and I will be back on here to share more with you another time. Have a Grow Joy day. Bye.